chemical arms race they couldn't win, they needed a game changer. So the food industry turned to a new technology based on genetics rather than chemistry, the genetically modified organism, better known as a GMO.
80% of Greg Stone's crop is now genetically modified, engineered to produce its own toxin that's lethal to insects like the European corn borer. So why do farmers like Greg still need ag pilots like Robert? This is a picture of Robert's work, recorded over a period of 2 weeks by a GPS unit we attached to his plane. He's still spraying, just not as much as before. Unfortunately, some corn borers are resistant to the toxin that the GM corn produces. Robert's job is to make sure those bugs don't take over the gene pool. Between the GM toxin and the pesticides, the system is working, at least for now. All this modern technology means farmers today produce vast quantities of crops. Now it's late September, harvest time. And farmers need a 21st century workhorse to get this enormous job done. I've come to get a hands-on lesson in modern farm machinery with specialist harvesting company Salmon's Adventures.
Hey, Roger.
You?
Whoa, these suckers are huge.
And its boss, Roger Salmons.
We're going to teach you how to drive it today.
It's a little bit bigger than my Prius, but I'm game.
I'm about to take charge of a $500,000 worth of brand new harvester.
Okay, now full throttle.
All right. Huh?
You are ready to rock and roll.
Hey, get out of my way. Woohoo!
In fact, Roger's happy to let me lead the pack. The whole wheat crop now depends on a rookie. Fortunately, this big rig has a lot under the hood. A 360 horsepower engine, automatic controls, moisture sensors, even an optional GPS guidance system. Roger's machine can harvest 8,000 bushels of wheat per day. 60 years ago, the average combine harvested less than a quarter of that.
Lift up on your header just a little bit.
Lift up on my who? On my header?
Plus sign, yep.
Plus sign.
Just, there you go.
Good.
Perfect.
But mastering these levers isn't all it takes to produce a harvest.
Oops, get that.
Oops.
I'm going to assist you here.
Yeah, no, please do.
Here's the bigger picture. Harvesting is a job on the go. These are the places where about a dozen harvester teams, including the Salmons, stopped to do their work last season. Tucked into their super efficient machines, each year, they crisscross the highways at the heart of America in a series of hectic mechanical migrations. Turns out, instead of harvesting their own crops, thousands of American farmers rely on the state-of-the-art equipment of specialists like the Salmons. By the end of October, Roger's team will have gathered 500,000 tons of grain and covered 5,000 weary miles.
You have to be able to thrive on stress in order to do this. A lot of people are coming for the experience. They want to see the heartland of the United States, but cabin fever sets in pretty fast. It really does. The odds are they're not going to come back next year.
So there's a lot of turnover in this business.
Oh, tremendous amount of turnover, yes.
Harvesting, like so many aspects of food production, relies heavily on people power combined with new technology. But sometimes, nature's way is the only option.
All right, take a look what we have right here. It's this beautiful honeybee inside this pumpkin plant. It's rolling around inside, sucking up the nectar, but while it's doing that, it's getting all this pollen all over its legs and the rest of its body. It's a beautiful sight, and it shows in action this delicate relationship between the honeybee and the flower itself that's absolutely critical to making sure that this turns into that.
Even high-tech farmers haven't come up with a better method for pollinating their produce. But there aren't enough wild honeybees to do the job. Enter long-distance bee trucker David Heckenberg.
We truck bees all over the United States. 1st of February is the big trucking trip to California to pollinate almonds.
California is the country's biggest producer of almonds. But they couldn't grow a single one without the work of beekeepers like David.
There's only 2 million hives of bees left in the United States, and it takes 1.5 million of them to pollinate the almond crop. Then the bees leave California, and we truck the bees on to Georgia to the woods to get some clean food into them.
David has to give them a kind of bee detox because the California almond trees have been treated with 7,000 tons of pesticides.
And then our next pollination is apples in Pennsylvania in the middle of April. Once the apples are over, these bees all go to Maine to pollinate blueberries. And then pumpkins start mid-July. These bees we're sitting here looking at, this is Friday. Went downtown Pennsylvania last night and picked up 2 truckloads of bees and got home at 2:30 this morning, and here I am talking to you now.
By the end of their journey, David's bees have traveled 8,500 miles and pollinated an estimated 5,000 acres of America's produce. But these bees are facing a mysterious threat.
This hive of bees, it looks really good today, within a matter of 10 to 20 days, just disappears. There's nothing left. The bees are gone.
It was David Heckenberg who first alerted the world to a phenomenon called colony collapse disorder.
Are they dead?
It's a mystery. All that's left is the combs of honey. It's just like somebody took a sweeper and swept them all out of there.
Oh, so what's causing this?
We have a lot of scientists around the world working on it. We believe that it's environmental stress.
All the pesticides.
Pesticides. We have systemic pesticide in the seed, and it grows up through the plant to protect that plant. Some of that is getting in the flower.
Right.
And the bees are bringing that home, and then we see all kinds of weird things starting to happen. Don't swallow. Oh, I'm putting smoke in your... Sorry about that.
A lot of people agree with David's theory, but the scientific jury's still out on exactly what's causing colony collapse disorder. David doesn't know how bad this year will be, but long-term, the prospects aren't good.
Most of us guys that are in pollination business are losing 60 to 70% of our bees every year. So we've got big, huge fields, and there's not enough bees here to pollinate the crop.
Say colony collapse disorder keeps on happening and all the bees get wiped out. What does that mean? Like, what happens to all these crops?
Well, you're not going to have pumpkins, and you're not going to have apples, and you're not going to have cherries, and you're not going to have almonds, and you're not going to have a lot of things.
David's story is disturbing to me. If the bees are in trouble, so are the farmers who depend on them, and the consumers who want fresh produce. And it's clear the bees are not the only ones feeling the pressure. America's food machine is pushing all of our resources to the limit. From bees to water to the people who make the system run. We rely on the nomadic lifestyles of harvesters and beekeepers, and tens of thousands of truckers moving products all around the country to keep our food machine running. Even those who don't travel for a living are rarely fixed, like ag pilot Robert Grace, or the JBS meat packers in Colorado, or Ted Shealy's tomato harvesters in California. It's estimated there are now 4 million agricultural workers who migrate from job to job across the continent.
But there's a real irony here. 10,000 years ago, people stopped chasing animals. They stopped hunting and gathering, and they started farming so that they could stay in one place. They didn't have to move. Yet look at us now. We can't stop moving.
One reason that ag workers have to cover so much ground is that these days, there are a lot fewer people available to do those jobs. A century ago, 1/3 of us worked and lived on farms. Now, it's barely 2%. For the first time in human history, just 2% of the population can feed the other 98%. And a lot of farmers like Greg Stone will tell you that technology has made their work a lot easier.
The human element is becoming less and less of a factor. And that's good, because it doesn't matter if the sun's up, down, or if it's cloudy, or if it's Sunday or Saturday. It has eliminated a lot of the need for skilled humans.
Sounds pretty different from what your grandpa did. I mean, would you consider yourself to be a farmer now?
Now I'd be more of an input-output manager. But I do wonder all the time, what would Grandpa think of this? You know, it'd be fun to see his reaction. So it'd be cool.
The original self-sufficient farmer, who laid the foundation for America's growth, has largely disappeared from the Midwest. But in some places, he's making a comeback. I've dragged myself out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning to help a man aptly named Will Gardner get his product to market.
Hey, what's up, man?
Will is one of thousands of small-scale farmers across the U.S. reviving the homestead ideal.
You don't want to get too close to the soil line, because I want the growth to still continue, so I just chop it off right here. You know, it's pretty tasty, man. A lot of people at the market love it.
This is real back-to-basics farming, and some think part of a new green revolution.
How'd you get into this in the first place?
I just wanted to save money, you know, eat healthier. Figured it would be a lot cheaper for me to grow the vegetables that we eat on a daily basis in my backyard, you know, simple stuff. And it just became addictive. They're very tasty.
Do you use any, like, pesticides?
No, just compost, man. So I put a lot of compost.
I should have asked you that before I stuck that in my mouth.
The amazing thing is, we're not in deepest rural Pennsylvania, or even suburban New Jersey. This is where Will farms, the inner city of Detroit. Among its many problems, this area is a food desert, a place where it's hard to find groceries, let alone fresh produce. Although the surrounding neighborhood looks like an urban war zone, in fact, it's reverting to its rural state. This is an aerial photograph of the packed landscape of central Detroit 70 years ago, at the height of its industrial boom. As the city's economic fortunes decline, an estimated 44,000 lots of that land have been abandoned, quietly turning into green space, where 16,000 urban farmers, like Will, are now planting the seeds of an alternative agriculture.
It's a great feeling. I feel that I'm part of something big that's happening in the city. You know, it's more personal. People come down there and volunteer just to be able to connect with your farmer.
And that connection extends right into the heart of the city.
$4, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Eastern Market in downtown Detroit, where Will sells his produce, is the biggest of its kind in America.
Watermelon, salad greens, fresh kale, picked this morning.
And after half an hour, immersed in the amazing vibe of this place, I realize how different this approach to feeding people is from what I've seen on my journey.
Have a wonderful weekend. Picked fresh from a local garden run by my friend Will.
Local, where the food machine is global. Organic, rather than powered by chemistry and genetics. And produced on a grassroots, rather than industrial scale.
I think it's great there are alternative ways that we produce the majority of the fruits and vegetables that Detroiters need to be healthy.
Ashley Atkinson runs Greening of Detroit, a nonprofit that promotes urban farming, not so much as a lifestyle, but as a way for both farmers and customers to thrive.
Local farmers, Michigan farmers, don't have a lot of resources to compete with industrial agriculture. And places like this actually bring together consumers and producers, trying to not only provide, fresh fruits and vegetables to the community, but make a living.
Is it working?
It is working, absolutely. It's even more of a powerful argument for how important urban agriculture is for the city of Detroit.
There's something kind of nice about this reconnection of land and people. And local organic food is reshaping diets, not just here, but all across the country. How far it can ultimately go, however, is open to question. After all, how many small-scale farmers like Will Gardner would it take to supply every one of these food outlets, even if America found craveability in local greens and grass-fed meats? In spite of its problems, our food machine meets this challenge and feeds 300 million Americans every day. I've decided to go back to the heart of that industrial food machine high above the cornfields of Kansas to try and figure out where it's headed. I'm taking a ride with Robert Grace in the Boeing Stearman his dad flew when he started the family crop dusting business after World War II. Between them, father and son have witnessed a revolution.
When you have an increasing population, automatic, you have to have larger and larger yields every year, forever.
The food machine that Robert's dad and Greg Stone's granddad helped create some 70 years ago would be unrecognizable to them today. To sustain us, that machine faces many challenges.
Maintaining this infrastructure we have to pay for that maintenance. So as that canal infrastructure ages, our cost is going to continue to rise.
As our tastes evolve, craveability doesn't have to lead to more bloomin' onions.
Trends are going to change again because now America is moving away from that high-fat diet. So we're going to see all these trends change again.
New voices are growing louder, reviving old ideas.
Something had to be done, and like I heard that silent cry for help, and you know, I felt that we have some space out here I can contribute.
For most of the time that humans have walked the earth, the biggest threat to human life was hunger. In 21st century America, our food machine gives us more food than most of us will ever need. But it's not just about producing more calories. The question we now face is, how can we feed ourselves in a way that's healthy for us and sustainable for the environment?
I think the future is very bright for agriculture. These crops we grow today will not look anything like they do now in 5 years. And that's part of the fun, to be part of that.
One thing's for sure. As this revolution continues, our food industry will have to reinvent itself, as it has done so many times before. To keep food on the table, we're counting on it.
America Revealed is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.